No, I was a junior in college. My anatomy teacher mentioned this program that they had in Maine that was a summer fellowship at the Jackson Memorial Laboratory for Research in Genetics. She thought I would be a good idea for me to apply. So I did apply, and I did get accepted. And so I went to Bar Harbor, Maine for the summer, which was a very interesting experience again, because we lived in tents at that time, about 6 people to a tent. It was a very nice tent, and they had a very large mess hall where the cook was terrific. It was during World War II, where you could not have meat, and she made these fabulous vegetarian dishes. That's all I remember. We really enjoyed it there very much as far as the food was concerned. At one point, I think it was one of the boys, knew somebody at a naval station nearby, and he was able to smuggle in a loin of pork or something, and the cook made the loin of pork, and I got so sick because I had never had pork before in my life. And I spent all night walking up and down, and I remember one of the young men there was walking with me just to make me feel better. Well, I guess I'd never eaten it before, so it was something like that. The other experience, these are all the non-scientific experiences there, was I had never really learned how to ride a bike, and they decided I should ride a bike there. So 2 of the boys there, put me on a bike and I started to ride. But the one thing they didn't teach me was how to brake. So I went directly into a tree and fell down. And one of the young men, this sounds racist, but it's true, was a very young black guy, and he turned white. He was so scared he thought I was dead. They both did, but nothing happened to me, but it was sort of a scary thing in a way. One of the scientists, Bill Russell, was our mentor. He was in charge of all the young students there at that time. He was really a wonderful man. He was from England, and he had this marvelous English accent, and he had done quite a good amount of research in genetics there. And he was just, everyone just liked him. They took us to trips to the lakes and to the ocean, which I could not get into. I don't know if anybody could get into the ocean in Maine. I'd been used to the ocean, having grown up in Brooklyn and gone to Coney Island all my life, but I never had been into an ocean where your ankles turned ice in 2 minutes. And we had picnics. It was really fun with him. We also had a series of lectures, and I still remember one. It was given by Clarence C. Little, who was, I guess he would be the director of the laboratory at the time. Before that time, he had been president of the University of Maine in Orono. He was a very elegant man that was very influential, and he gave a lecture on religion and science. And I guess he had a true feeling for religion, because the part that I remember that he said is that an amoeba does not understand there is such a thing as a cockroach. A cockroach does not understand there is such a thing as a dog. Now, a dog might understand there's such a thing as a person, but not really. So how can we understand if there's such a thing as God? And that stayed with me. It did not make me religious, but I think it's an interesting observation, that it might be something beyond our ability to comprehend. We don't have the facilities for doing this. I was assigned to a young man, and I cannot remember his name. It was also with an R. He was doing research on the eye with the idea that the aqueous humor in the eye does not have any antibodies in it. So if you would put tissue into the eye, so there'd be no reaction to that tissue because it has no antibodies, and then transplant it back into a mouse. All the work was done with mice. And we would operate on embryo mice and take out their ovaries and put them into the eyes of the adult Now, where did it went into the adult mouse's eyes and then transplanted into something else. I have no idea how it ended. Somewhere, someplace, I have a paper about it. There was one other incident I have to bring out because, if you know, I might have said before that I have a fear of dogs. They had most of the work they had done was dealing with mice, and the way they made funds in order to keep the laboratory running was they sold mice throughout the whole world. And these were genetically pure mice with different traits. Some of them twitched, some of them shook, some of them, they all had varied traits, and they would breed them in that way. They also had another facility down the road about a mile that was an old stable that had been originally made for people who were one of the original founders, and it was beautiful. It was made with pure wood, and it was just fabulous, the whole place. And they had dogs from all over the world in various cages, and I don't know what type of work they were doing with them. All I remember, there was one dog from South Africa who's supposedly afraid of people and never barked. And when I went by his cage, he jumped up and came to the front of the cage and started barking at me. I think they can understand fear in people. I really do. I'll never forget that. He was not a very big dog, but it was really an interesting summer. Socially, it was interesting to me because all the other students had gone to sleepaway colleges, and I never had, and this was my first experience doing it.